This idea is the FBI is some sort of objective organization that's just looking for the truth is just nonsense. They're a political organization. This ties deeply into the idea of like, well, Comey's actually a piece of garbage, right? And so I know John was going to talk about the fact that his history of waterboarding. Tell us about that.
He signed a memorandum authorizing waterboarding and defended it. I mean, Comey's done, actually, I will give Comey credit for pushing back against the NSA authorization to spy on every American, basically illegally, but he also authorized waterboarding.
Yeah, and I mean, Comey's also famous for coming out and espousing this idea of the Ferguson effect, right? That it's like the rise in crime in certain urban areas in America was the result of people filming police shooting, which was making them more cautious about shooting people, but also more cautious about doing their job. So he was blaming essentially Black Lives Matter and other associated organizations who try to keep tabs on police abuses of citizens for the rise in crime that they were seeing in Chicago. And that's why I would say, the FBI, Comey, he was a political figure and he was acting politically in a lot of ways. And eventually he was going to get fired by Trump. Like at some point,
quickly, just on the Ferguson effect and the FBI, I just wanted to touch quickly that that's the same FBI that was keeping the statistics that we were getting voluntarily reported by the police that were woefully inadequate, and they never really went out there to try and shut people down when they quoted them as if they were the end all be all of the information that we had regarding the police shootings that we had going on before. Is like that we found that there was like several times more shootings happening once we actually started counting them than the FBI was reporting. The FBI knew that the whole time, and they could have said something, and he's one of many that didn't say anything. But go ahead, Brendan.
I bring up one more thing, quick thing about him, Comey. He lied under oath when he said no Republican emails were released as well.
Yeah. So I mean, what I bring about Comey is and like in his place as this, between this tug of war between Republicans and Democrats, where either one group wants him fired or one group wants him burned at the stake or whatever, is that he reveals that our entire political process our entire political culture is so deeply tribalist, right? And why that's problematic is because it's a point where like now he's being invited to join the resistance, this avidly pro-cop, pro-state, pro-torture. I mean, I'm assuming he's center-right or at least center dude. Same with Sally Yates, is being invited to join the resistance simply because he opposes Trump. Like it's the rehabilitative effect of Trump, which sounds like the second album of Lauryn Hill's career, but that never came. But it's, the rehabilitation of James Comey is so indicative of where we are right now with basically every figure as it relates to Trump. Like whether it be Henry Kissinger.
I was just going to say, Cenk Uygur just recently published an article that I replied to that basically talked about the resistance being almost exclusively around the idea of opposing Trump, and not as in pointing out how that's problematic, but in more of a positive celebratory way in that it was the pointing out that article. And so I think that's part of it is when you see Comey coming in, that's being widely adopted by the resistance.